Hi guys, and welcome back to my returning subscribers that are just tuning back in and stopping by. Thank you so much for stopping by. For anyone who is new and stopping by, thank you so much for stopping by. If you are a subscriber that's been rocking with me since day one, thank you so much for coming and joining me again for another video. If you're a subscriber that has just joined the journey along the way, thank you guys for coming and joining me as well. You guys all are the real MVP. So today in this video, I am going to be talking about a topic, but before I do so, I do want to let you know I am offering prayers for salvation for you to be able to receive your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and accept him into your heart, as well as prayers for strengthening your faith, and also prayer requests. The information for that and that process and how I'll be able to pray for you and pray with you as well is in the description box. It is my email address as well. So I did want to let you guys know that. For today's video, we're going to be talking about the importance of trims and why it's so important to trim the ends of your hair, dust it, whatever you want to call it, search and destroy. So let's get into it. So when my hair had dye on it and it had a chemical on it, I needed to trim my hair more often. I was not adhering to that. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna let it go. That is the worst thing you can do for your hair. That is one of the things that can stunt your hair growth. It's best to clip your ends the moment that you start noticing that your ends are splitting, because you want to avoid it getting any further up your hair shaft than what it already is. If it's on the ends, it's just like, don't wait, clip it. Right now, like for instance, I just cut my hair. I cut all that dye off my hair 3 months ago, and so now here it is. I had to trim it. That's when my ends started splitting. So if that continues on, because I haven't been doing a lot to my hair to cause it to break off or anything like that, then that may be around the time that I need to clip my ends every 3 months. And I'm okay with that because I can get it at the start and see that growth and continuously have it growing as well. So, you know, everybody's hair is different. Some people do twice a year. Some people's hair they can go a little bit longer. It just depends on for you. Some people, they do search and destroy, but for me, I just want to say that search and destroy, like I've done it in between for certain sections, but it's like when it starts looking, it's in multiple places that I have splits, I usually would just go ahead and trim it. I don't try to search and destroy. Search and destroy is specifically you're looking for pieces of the hair that are split and you're just going to clip the ends of it. I never do it on camera for you guys. I'm going to eventually do it, but that's just literally what you're looking for. You can do that in between trims, because mind you, the scissors are always near me during my journey. Like, y'all don't see it. I do a lot of stuff off camera, like with my ends, with keeping it up. And search and destroy is just one of those things I do in between, so that way I can keep up with the maintenance of my hair, and when it's time for a trim, I'm not having to trim off as much because I'm catching it as it's starting to split. Some parts of your hair will split faster than others, and that's something you have to understand and learn about your hair as well. Like I know for me, certain parts of my hair split faster than others. Certain parts, it takes them a minute before they start splitting. So I like to just take care of it as well. What I did in the video, I don't know if you would consider it a trim, a dust. Like I did dust my ends. I didn't do anything too crazy. I don't go to hairdressers to get trims because it's just, you know, they have a vision in their mind and a type of hairstyle, you know, they want it to be even. I naturally just have layers. They've always been there since I can remember, since the beginning of time. So it's like not no rhyme or reason. That's just my hair, and I'm just cool with just taking care of my hair on my own. I won't be stepping foot into like any hairdressers or anything like that. So that's just that as well. But also with trims and things like that, you know, some people are on a schedule. For me, it's just how often am I noticing that it's splitting. And you can I wouldn't say make a schedule because you're going to drive yourself crazy, but just pay attention to how often it splits. Like I noticed, like I just cut my hair 3 months ago. I cut the dye off, and then 3 months later the ends started splitting. So that's around the time I need a trim. I can't go past that time, because what happens is when you're ignoring the fact that your hair needs a trim, or you negate the fact that your hair needs a trim, what happens is all the split ends are going to do is keep going up the hair shaft, and eventually you're going to notice a lot of a lot of breakage and hair loss. So you want to avoid that and just clip your ends at the moment that you first notice that. And I'm not saying, like I said, some parts of your hair will split faster than others. When you notice it's like a lot of parts where it's like you're seeing those split ends, and I'll demonstrate that to you guys, it's good to just clip the ends of that instead of trying to hold on to it. Now, I'm going to do a demonstration. I don't have a banana. I wish I did right now. But I don't have a banana, so I'll just use my hands. Prime example. Let's just say when my hands are closed, that means that your hair cuticle is fine, your ends are fine, and your ends are doing extremely well. So let's say you're like me, you protective style, and you know, all right, you've put your hair away and your hair is healthy. So your ends are going to stay closed like this. They're not going to split. They're not going to do anything. As you manipulate over time, let's say you're somebody that you have to do your hair a little bit more often, you're going to notice the split. Like, so what's going to happen is when you do a little bit more manipulation, your ends are going to start to become a little bit more weak and fragile and frail, and they're going to start to split. So let's just say, like, okay, you're trying out a new style and you're like, I don't like that, and you do some more. What's going to happen is it's going to continue to split. And so let's just say you see it at this point and you're like, it's not too bad. I can go a little bit longer. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to continue to split. And then you're like, oh, you know, I noticed I got length. I noticed I have inches, as people would say. Oh, well, you know, now I can just, you know, keep going like I got length. But what's happening is you don't see what's happening. Like, this is the demonstration. Your ends are split. So what's going to happen is even if you have the length, it's just splitting. So ultimately, when you just let it go like that, all it does is continue to split and split and split up the hair shaft. And that's when you notice the hair loss like a lot more than what you normally would lose. And that's when you notice that when you go in a hairdresser, I'm sorry, allergies, guys. When you go in and you go to the hairdresser, it's going to seem like they're taking off a lot. They're not. You sit and you let your ends go. So that's the dice that you roll. Like, some people can go ahead and for months, for like 6 months, and not clip their ends. My hair is not set up like that. My genetic makeup is not set up like that. And I pretty much, I gotta every 3 months, or, you know, it's just like, it's just going to continue on. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So you have to find out and look at how often are your ends splitting. Don't make it a schedule, but just pay attention to, like, okay, I noticed at 3 months my ends are starting to split. Let me trim those. Let me dust those. There's like different techniques. I don't do the different techniques I was in the beginning, but I just like to stick to the one where I just blow dry it. And you'll see me in my blow dry video. I'll link it in the cards. And I just will pull the ends, and literally when I can see behind my wall behind me, or a light surface behind me, and it's very see-through, that's where I know where I need to trim off it. I don't get sad about having to do a trim or clipping my ends, because it's ultimately going to keep your hair healthy. I do feel like, because people always say that trims don't help to grow your hair out, but I feel like in a sense that they do, because imagine if you just never clipped your ends. Your length comes from the bottom, the ends of your hair. Your hair grows out of your scalp, but your length comes from the bottom of your hair. So if you're not taking care of those and you need a trim, and you wait past the time that your hair really needs a trim, and you're ignoring the fact that it needs a trim, and it's letting you know you need a trim, then you're going to lose a lot of that length. So I feel like trims, in a way, they keep, ultimately, when they're keeping your hair healthy, they're keeping your hair growing. So that's what I mean by, I feel like ultimately they do help your hair to grow. Now, signs that you may need a trim, I know for me, is a lot of hair loss. Like, before I shot that video with trimming, I saw some parts of my hair that I did search and destroy. So I just went in certain parts and clipped it out. But when I came out of those braids, I just took out prior, those mini braids I took out prior, I noticed a lot more split ends. So it was time for me to give myself a thorough trim, or a dusting, as we would call it. I know I talked to somebody before. I used to work with them. She went to hair school, and she said, you know, hairdressers are told that a trim is a haircut. So after that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm really not going to the hairdresser, because if I'm telling you I want to trim and you giving me a haircut, we not doing that. I'll take care of my hair on my own, so I can keep my length. I'll clip my ends on my own. You out here with scissor hands. So ultimately, That's another reason why I just clip my ends myself. Because hairdressers, when you say, hey, I want a trim, a trim is a haircut to them. So that's why they even it out like that. That's why you see it really nice. It's a cut. They not dusting it and doing all of that. So you gotta take that into consideration when you go to hairdressers. There's some hairdressers, they really just take off what's needed, and then there's some, they have a vision in their mind and they may take off a lot more than what you're expecting, a lot more than what needs to actually be taken off, and you don't need to do that much. So there's that. Also, you'll lose a lot of hair. You'll have a lot of like knots and tangles, which I had when I took those other braids out that I just removed, those mini braids. So I definitely knew it was a sign that I needed a trim. When I don't need a trim, my hair does not tangle up around itself like that, especially when it's stretched or blow dried. So that was another sign for me. Another sign is like my moisture level was kind of off. It was like all over the place. Like my hair wasn't able to retain moisture. So I definitely knew that that was another sign that I needed a trim. But all the while, it's just very important to make sure you're doing your trims. I know there's a lot of videos out there, but I'm just hoping that this one is helpful for you as well, to kind of really just break it down, because you can run over tips of how you need a trim, but it's like some people really need stuff broken down, just so that they can understand the concept of certain things. And I'm okay with breaking things down so you guys can understand it, and how it's important to not just the health of your hair, but to help your hair to grow and for you to retain length. Like our hair is always growing, but we want to retain length. If I never just clipped my ends and I was like stuck on length, you know, my hair would never grow past where it was prior. So I noticed that my hair is growing a lot more, because I'm realizing, like, I know when I got to my second year of my, having to do my trim or whatever, I feel like I cut off too much hair, and now I'm learning, like, I feel like I cut off too much hair, not because I didn't know what I was doing, but because more so I just was not implementing the best practices when I was pushing to get to year 2. So I just feel like, in a sense, you just have to pay attention to that stuff and implement some really good practices. That's why protective styling is good. You can give yourself breaks in between. I haven't really done that, but I mean, my hair is still flourishing and growing. As long as you're taking care of your ends, moisturizing your hair, washing it when it needs to be washed, giving your hair the love that it needs. If you're someone that uses oil like myself, oiling your scalp, or, making sure you just doing something for, your scalp for the growth, and, whether it be you're washing your hair and, there's oils in the products or whatever. As long as you're doing those things, those are the things that matter the most. I don't have anything else for you guys. I really hope that this video has been helpful and a great help to you as well, in the process. As well, I would have read the Bible verse off, but I figured just put it in the beginning when I started talking, so you guys can read it. That way you just have that to feed your spirit spiritually. I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and you guys have a wonderful, blessed day. See you soon. Bye.